few years ago, a study came out saying that grain-free dog food might be killing dogs, but it was competitor-backed. The data was garbage. The FDA would later retract the whole thing, but none of that mattered at the time. Overnight, Mitch Felderhoff's phone was ringing off the hook. Every post he had out there was flooded. You're killing dogs. It was BS, however. Many CEOs could have lawyered up. Other CEOs would have put out a careful statement and waited for the whole thing to blow over. Mitch ate his own dog food, literally, nothing else, for 30 days, on camera. One Instagram post to his followers, and 5 hours later, NBC standing in his driveway ready to record. By the time it was over, his sales were up over 400%. His company had gone from 2 freeze-dried food freezers all the way to 25. This is a story about what happens when you actually believe in what you built and you're willing to prove it. This is episode 9 of the Grit Mindset Revisited. Listen in and stay gritty. This is Matt Rosen, and this is the Grit Mindset with me, your host, Matt Rosen. The mission of the Grit Mindset is to inspire and empower our listeners by delving deep into the journeys of those who have faced significant challenges and emerged stronger. Through authentic conversations, we uncover the mindsets, strategies, and lessons that have propelled these individuals to overcome adversity and achieve success. My aim is to provide actionable insights and real-world advice to help our listeners cultivate their own grit and navigate their personal and professional lives with confidence and resilience. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Grit Mindset with Matt Rosen. I'm your host, Matt Rosen. Great to have you all listening in. I've got a special guest with us today, a good buddy of mine, Mitch Felderhoff. He has been an entrepreneur multiple times, has a great story. And so let's introduce Mitch and get going on the Grit Mindset. Welcome.
Thanks, Matt. Enjoyed. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the early businesses you've been involved in. We'll kind of take it from there.
So I grew up in a small town, Munster, Texas, town of 1,500 people, and it's essentially been that way for 50 years. Family owned a livestock feed business. We converted it to pet food. I stepped in right out of college with a sports medicine degree that applied nothing to pet food, but we tried anyway. And I spent 17 years there. Bought it from my parents. Over 7 years, we 10x'd the business and we sold it to a private equity group. And then I transitioned out after about 2.5 years of that, and now I'm in the dumpster business.
Oh, well, let's dig into that. What in your early life got you? It sounds like you went to school for sports medicine, but were there some early entrepreneurial experiences, or what got you headed down that path?
When I went to school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have anyone speak into like, hey, here's what good looks like later in life. I just knew I didn't want to be in dog food, and I liked sports. And then my senior year, I actually overheard my dad talking to someone, and he was telling me that, you can go do that job, but you're only like $60K a year, and who can provide for a family on that? And I was like, he never told me that. Like, what am I doing? And so I chose to get into sales because I'd worked at a 24-hour fitness my senior year of college, and I made more money selling supplements than I did actually training people. And was going to go to medical sales. Told my dad, hey, I've got to get some experience before I can do that in sales. You need help. I'll come help you for 2 years, and then I'll leave.
So you were going to sign up for 2 years and then 17 years with the business.
Yeah, and we found some really cool things in those 2 years and thought there's some momentum here. I think I can make a difference. I'm going to keep pushing and just seeing what else is out there in this category.
What were some of the biggest challenges you encountered as you were growing your parents' business? And
probably working with them. They have a very old school mentality, and they live in a bubble, and they only knew what they knew. And I'm spending more time in Dallas, and I'm meeting entrepreneurs like you and Bill and a couple other people. And when you start, like, they would open windows I could not see out of anymore. And it was going back to them and saying, this is the way we actually need to do it. And so there was resistance there, but ultimately when they allowed that to happen, it would work.
Got it. Were there other early influences that you had that helped grow you to where you are today outside of your family?
Yeah, I mean, I joined Biz Owners Ed in 2015, and that was really the network into entrepreneur guidance that I'd never had. And then I spent some time in EO and had a really strong forum there, and just, you never know what you're going to get out of the meetings, but it's, one sentence from someone that's been down the road before just can save you a ton of pain and heartache.
Yeah, Biz Owner Ed was, I think, a great resource for both of us. We had Dave Casey on a few episodes ago. He's one of the founders of that. Looking forward to have more of the Biz Owner Ed crew on part of the show. But for those that don't know, great entrepreneurial class that's held here in Dallas. They're replicating it online, and really, I think, gave Mitch and I a lot of insight and knowledge that helped us in our journeys with our companies. So
yeah,
we still keep in touch with a lot of the folks from that group.
I do. I think it's crazy. Anytime I'm running into a challenge or a problem in the business, I try to think of who can help me, and it's typically someone that I've either been in the biz owners group with or someone from my EO forum. I bet once every 2 weeks I'm talking to one of them.
Yeah, nothing like the power of the network. So we're obviously on the grit mindset. It means something a little different to everyone else. What does grit mean to you, both personally and professionally?
To me, grit is just knowing that you have to do it. And it doesn't matter, and then doing it anyway. So it's just wake up, get up, and go. And whether you want to or not, it has to be done, and you have to do it.
Yeah. So I know of one experience, as do I think many of our listeners, about a particularly difficult time where you had to show some extreme grit. And so I'd love for you to share that story about what you had to do with your dog food company.
Yeah, so we had a pet food company, and we're relatively small brand in the grand scheme of things. And some of your larger companies had sponsored some studies, and it came out and said that grain-free dog food was causing dogs to have heart disease. And the public reaction to something is always very strong, even if it's unfounded or not. And so while we had no instances where our food had caused that, they also came out and said you should be very cautious with boutique brands, which is what we were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I was actually doing some work for a pet food distributor at the time, and sent everyone into shock. But wasn't that same study sponsored by someone like the really large dog food companies that were making things on the cheap?
It was, yeah. There was a big sponsor behind writing bills to the lab, and they'd been suffering from not having a grain-free option, and so we were just listed as a boutique brand to be careful with. And all of a sudden we're getting 10, 15, 20 phone calls a day about why aren't you guys using veterinarians for your dog food? And we're using PhD animal nutritionists that are actually specialists at the nutrition piece of it. And so, and then every social media post we made, it was getting flooded with comments about, why do you make grain-free dog food? You're killing dogs. Wow. And we killed none. I'm done having this conversation. I'm going to eat it for 30 days. I know the CEO of these larger companies are not going to do that. So if that's not good enough for the pet owner, then I don't care. They're not my customer.
So it was Super Size Me, but with dog food.
Exactly. and better health metrics.
Yeah. So tell us about that journey eating dog food for 30 days. I'm assuming it was the Munster dog food.
It was. I'd never even had a full meal of just dog food before. I'd eat a piece or two just trying it out to see what it tastes like, and thought I'm just going to do it, and started. I did one Instagram post. I think I had 55 followers at the time, and 5 hours later, NBC was at my house. And I had no expectation that would potentially happen. And then it took off like wildfire, and it was a real blessing, but every day was not easy.
Yeah. What was your first meal when you got done after 30 days of dog food?
We went to Marty B's, and
I love Marty B's.
I had a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So what was your favorite dog food brand?
We had some chicken meatballs.
Yeah.
And they were almost just chicken. And so it didn't have the vitamin minerals. It didn't have a ton of organ meat in it. It was mostly chicken breast ground up into a meatball.
Yeah. So what did that do for the Munster brand? You going through that 30-day period of only dog food?
Our website sales grew by 400%.
Wow.
In 3 weeks. We were
crazy.
Overwhelmed by the traffic. And then we were in this odd phase of business where we had actually, we were in a painful spot because we'd brought on freeze-dried, and it was very new to the industry, and there weren't really a lot of experts on freeze-dried. So it took us about 2 years to figure out how to actually manufacture the product well. And we had 2 freeze dryers that were not very busy. And when I ate it, like we got a lot of business online, but these machines are made to run 24/7, and so that filled about 5 hours of it. But because we got so many headlines from this PR stunt, it landed in the Google alerts for all the CEOs and presidents of all the other pet food companies in the country. And so I started getting phone calls of, I didn't know you guys were doing freeze dried, and do you have capacity? Can you make my product? And within 3 months, we were 100% maxed out on capacity doing co-packing and white label.
Oh, wow. So you're like a contract manufacturer for these guys.
And we became one of the biggest contract manufacturers of freeze dried in a period of about 6 months. And we were buying capacity from 2-3 other manufacturers.
Yeah. So you made it through the challenging time. I guess people started buying grain-free dog food again.
Mm-hmm.
You think it was all because of you?
I don't think it was, because the FDA actually had to come out and redact the study like a year and a half later, and said actually that was a bad data set, and it was skewed, and none of the information in it was valid.
Wow, that's crazy. So what were you said you actually saw some health benefits?
I did, yeah. I dropped 30 pounds in 30 days, and it was almost like all fat. So body fat even went down. My cholesterol dropped in half, and triglycerides dropped in half. It was very, very healthy.
Yeah. Would you suggest that as a weight loss strategy?
I would not recommend it.
So our listeners, if you want to lose weight, it'll work, but
yeah, just feed it to your dog.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So you went through that challenging time, started doing contract manufacturing, website sales were up. Kind of share kind of the rest of the story, whatever you'd like, of kind of where you took the business from there.
Yeah, from there we really had to make a choice on what do we want to be really good at, and we chose we want to be really good at contract manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of converted our brand into more of a control brand. So we're going to make really good products with this. We're going to put it in the market. We're going to show that it does really well with the consumers. But we can't be really good at manufacturing, and we can't be really good at distribution and be really good at direct to consumer. Like, it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
And so we partnered with the people that were really good at getting the product in the consumer's hands. We focused on the manufacturing side of it. And we ended up taking the manufacturing facility, from 1 to 2 freeze dryers to now 25 freeze dryers.
Wow.
And probably one of the biggest freeze dry manufacturers in North America. And our primary focus is making the product for other brands.
Got it. Well, that's quite a story. Other than going through the 30 days of eating dog food, were there any stories of failure or challenge where you had to persevere and overcome that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, we felt our way to success every time we started something new.
Yeah.
I think we were stuck in a spot where it took a long time to realize that pulling a lever and expecting something to happen tomorrow is fool's gold.
Yeah.
And the bigger the business got, it was, you're turning a cruise ship, you're not turning a yacht anymore. And so we had to kind of develop the patience to know that if we want to make a change, it's the work we do for the next 9 months, we will see that fruit in 9 months. So really understanding and developing the patience that we have to go work really hard and not get rewarded for it for 6 to 9 months before we start to see the fruit, and staying focused on that and not getting distracted along the way because you're not seeing the results.
Yeah, I think that's a great message for our listeners, because I think it's really easy for us as humans just to lose patience and try something for a month, like that didn't work, I'm going to try something else. And if you chase shiny object to shiny object, you don't ever stay with something long enough to see whether it's going to succeed or fail, right?
Yeah, it's Alex Hormozy talks about it. You get the uninformed optimism, and then you get the informed pessimism, and then you got to get back to the informed optimism.
Yeah, who was that again?
Alex Hormozy.
Okay, does he have a book on that, or?
He's probably got like 10 books.
Okay.
He's a kind of a digital marketing guru.
Got it.
Gives a lot of good quick hit advice.
All right, cool. I'll have to go look him up. I like that. You've moved on right from the pet food company. You're in the dumpster business. Talk a little bit about, that transition and kind of what you're doing today.
Yeah, I took 6 to 9 months and just kind of rested and kind of let my brain figure out what do I want to go do. And it was, we had over 400 SKUs, and I wanted to get to something just a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
And I met some guys that started a really cool business. They do dumpsters for new home construction only.
Okay.
And it's all based around really the environment. So they're preventing water from running over trash into streams and rivers and ponds. And they developed this really cool product that works on the home site. But it's one product.
Yeah.
And let's get really, really good at this one product. And, I kind of view myself as gasoline for a business. Like I'm really, really like growing something. And so I joined a few months ago or probably 6 months ago, and we actually started incorporating AI on the back end of the business, like very simple stuff,
Yeah.
but making a huge impact. And so what would take one person, 8 hours to do, it's now taking them 65 minutes.
Oh, that's great. I mean, AI is all the rage. If you don't mind sharing, where are you using? Is it to figure out when dumpsters are full, or helping with route optimization, or?
Yeah, so we're using it primarily for scheduling. So we have 30 different builders, and some of them they send us out of their operating software. Here's a perfect purchase order.
Yeah.
And some send an email that's like, need a dumpster on Elm Street. Well, it's missing a ton of information. And so we built an agent that'll go in, it'll take the fragmented email, it'll go research the company's website, see what developments are in, see where other dumpsters are, and it'll complete the field for us. And then once we have all the information validated, it'll take it into our scheduling board and it'll optimize the route for us. So we don't have someone that has to flip through 6 different notepads to see what's true and what's not.
Yeah, very cool. I'm sure they appreciate you bringing that to probably what's somewhat of an antiquated business model.
Yeah, no, I mean they've done a really good job.
Yeah.
But it's like they have to work really, really hard at it, and this provides a little bit of oxygen.
Yeah, and what do you see as kind of the biggest challenges? You obviously grew up in your parents' business, took over your parents' business. Now you've joined some new partners in a new field. What has been some of the things you've had to maybe learn or overcome as you've embarked on this new journey? I know it's still early.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn is just like we don't have to add something new. We just have to continue being really good at this.
Yeah.
And in the past business and manufacturing, we were constantly having to recreate ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is one of those where it's just get better at this.
Yeah. Get more home builders. And obviously we got lots of people moving to North Texas in general. So it's got to be a lot of business up for grabs.
Yeah. And then just really focusing in on the service side of it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, obviously you've spent a number of years running companies as an entrepreneur. What are some of the habits that you have that kind of keep you in check and allow you to focus and be the best at what you do and continue to exhibit grit as you go forward? Just maybe share a few things with us.
To me, I think it's really who you surround yourself with. So constantly trying to be in front of or around people that have done bigger things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool spending time with you, because when I came to you with a technology problem once, and you're like, this isn't really a huge issue like you think it is. Like, it's actually very solvable, and let's think more pragmatically about it. So I think finding people that are further down the road than what you are, like, it prevents you from going through the pain that you really have to go through. And then I think just always doing something really difficult. So I read a book called what was it? The Comfort Crisis.
Okay.
And essentially, like, once every 3-4 months, do something incredibly difficult that you're not sure that you'll be able to get through. Like, you have a 50% chance of success at.
Yeah.
Whether it's fitness related or just like the discipline of, hey, I'm going to read my Bible every day. Finding something that's fairly difficult to do kind of keeps you pushed to be chasing something.
Got it. No, I'll have to check that out. Anything you're working on right now?
Right now, I would say the biggest thing I'm really working on is just really understanding AI and studying it, because I know it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
And I think if I was still in the Munster business, there's like 50 places I would try to put it. And there's a lot of noise around it.
Yeah.
And some people will oversell it and say that it can do 10 times what it can. And some people undersell it. So I think it's just learning how, when those tools are created, how I'm going to use them.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to spend time. It's something we talk about in my core business quite a bit is, there's a lot of hype out there, but figuring out like what are the right use cases for it. And it's really a lot of self-study, because these things change almost every day, if not every week, and then figuring out how to apply it. And it's really interesting because it's this technology looking for a problem to solve. So you got to really get yourself up to speed on it and understand what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your one thing around that.
I mean, where we're seeing it have huge improvements is in, automating things and creating insights out of vast amounts of data, or creating new things. We took our review process down by like 80%. We reviewed 350 people literally twice a year. So it's saving a lot of time and hours and Heck, I think the computer's writing better reviews than some of our folks were. Now, we still have a human in the loop. Someone still reads over the review and gives it to the person. We're not having the AI overlords review people just yet, but it's been an interesting experience then helping our clients navigate that, the seas of change as AI becomes part of our daily lives. But I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen quick. It's going to be here before we know it. So for those that are listening, I think start getting yourself up to speed, because it's not one of these you can put your head in the sand and ignore. So
That's awesome.
yeah, good stuff. Would love to hear, you talked about a couple different books you've read, any other inspiring sources that you go to for, inspiration as it comes to perseverance and grit, other books you'd like to share? I always like to ask that question.
Yeah. One of the I listened to a podcast called The Dad Edge, which we've talked about before. And it just, I'm really passionate about being a good dad and husband too. And Larry does a good job of like making the family as important as it is the business is, and that's helped me have a even stronger motivation to be better at business, because I got more to provide for. And then I would say another book is, I think it was one of the first books I ever read in business, was Winning by Jack Welch.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And for a while, I thought it was a little bit tough, like his radical candor. But then the longer I've been in business, the more I've realized, if you don't have that candor and transparency, like, do you ever actually figure out what the problem is you're trying to solve with the other people?
Yeah.
And if you're the quicker you can get good at boiling it down to like, what's the real issue, the easier it is to know what you're trying to solve.
Yeah, he was quite an amazing guy. GE hadn't been the same since he left. I think they broke it all up.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about Larry for a second. I know you got a lot of passion around the Dad Edge project. Maybe, I know a lot of our listeners don't know about that. I'll give Larry a shout out. He's a great guy and hoping to have him on the show one of these days, but be curious to hear your experience with the Dad Edge and kind of how you're applying his teachings into your family.
Yeah. So basically, I looked up, and I was probably working 70, 80 hours a week, and sold the business. So sold the majority of it. And I was like, hey, babe, come over here, look. And I was like, hit refresh on the screen. Like, we're not in debt anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, does that mean you'll be at Donuts with Dad on Friday? I'm like, and my heart just like sank. I'm like, man, none of this really mattered. Like, I was doing it for a number, but that number she didn't care.
Yeah.
And the kids didn't care. They wanted me to find a way to be there. And so, realized that I've got to figure out how to have the same desire to be as good of a dad and husband as I was as a business operator. And went to Larry has some coaching and some mastermind groups with other entrepreneurs, and found myself in a group of men once a week that we're all worried about our business, yes, but we're also equally worried about our kids and our spouse. And how do you create balance to be really good for all three of those? And it just kind of turned into hey, take care of yourself first, then take care of your family, and you'll have your head on your shoulders, right? And then you can actually focus on work when you're there.
Yeah.
And Joe Kesterson gave a quote once. It was like, never make them pay twice.
Yeah.
And so it was very much of like, when I'm at work, I'm working really, really hard. And then when I get home, I can hang that hat up and I don't have to worry about it. And then I work really, really hard on them.
Yeah. Well, you seem really passionate about being a great dad and a great family man. And I've learned from both you and Larry quite a bit. So it's been awesome getting involved and listening to his podcast and learning what the Dad Edge is all about.
Oh yeah. It's been a game changer for me.
Yeah. I mean, because no matter how many zeros you have in the bank account, the kids, wife, they don't care. They just want you there. They want you to be engaged.
Yeah, I think one of his favorite things to say is that the kids spell love TIME. And so how do you create more of that? And that's where really creating systems and processes that allow me to not have to be in the business all day and be able to be home has been great.
Well, obviously you probably have to be able to build a good team within your business to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And fortunately I joined a great team with this dumpster business. They are all really, really good at what they do and very passionate about family and being able to spend time with the family.
That's awesome. And anything you do in particular to inspire kind of that grit and perseverance that you show within a team? It sounds like this new one you joined might already have it, but maybe it's past experience.
For me, one of the things that I learned from our new CEO, actually, that we hired before I left was it's just that extreme accountability.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that he taught us is, hey, when we're having an issue in the business, we will meet on it weekly as a team until it's solved.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those, we meet on it one time and you hope that through email and a couple phone calls you can solve it. It is, we are going to meet together until everyone at the table agrees that it is solved and it's no longer an issue.
Yeah.
And it keeps you from having to fight 30 fires at once.
Yeah, that's great. That's some great lessons you've shared. Well, be curious, are there some areas we haven't explored that you're hoping we'd cover? We covered a lot of ground. We covered family. We covered 2 businesses, covered a lot of things, but be curious if you got any other stories you think that would be relevant to share, or topics you'd like to cover while we're here together.
I think the only thing I would throw out there is when I did eat the dog food for 30 days, it kind of got me an invitation to a table that doesn't send out invitations.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we get stuck with a little bit of imposter syndrome of, am what I'm doing, am I really that good at it, or is it really great? And I kind of had that realization all of a sudden, like, I'm in this circle that I didn't actually get invited to.
Yeah.
And no one is going to invite you. And so at some point you do have to make a bold move in your business and step up and realize that you are really good at it. And when you start calling yourself the best and you start performing like the best, all of a sudden you'll find yourself at that higher level. Because no one's going to save you. No one's going to ask you to come join them at the top. Like, you have to fight and climb your way there.
Yeah. No, that's an inspiring message to share. Well, as you kind of think about it, as we're kind of closing this episode of the Grit Mindset, people out there listening might be thinking about starting a business, asking for a bigger role, taking on more. Any lessons you'd share with them that they should be thinking about as they look to take that first step?
Yeah, I would say that you can probably do 70% more than you think.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a goal and you think you can do $1 million in sales, you're probably underselling yourself by, $2 million. And
I need to tell my sales folks that.
Most people don't ever go over the goal they set. They typically come in a little bit under it when they aim really, really big. But when you aim low, it's an excuse to lay off.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do $1 million, why not aim for 10?
Yeah.
And if you hit 7, man, way better than it was when you think small. So just learning how to think big. And I think surrounding yourself with people that are going to push you into thinking big. Like, don't go start a small business. Go start a big one.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
Takes the same amount of time, right?
It does. It's going to be periods of suck no matter what. And it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit of suck or a lot. It all sucks.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's saying is embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did that during those 30 days.
I did.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate your friendship. Thanks for all the insights you provide to our listeners. I think it's been great. For those that are listening in, we'll make sure we put a link to Mitch's LinkedIn and his company. Hopefully you heard some inspiring messages and some new thoughts here today. So we'll be closing out this episode of the Grit Mindset. Stay gritty.